This is the story of how North Ferriby United won the FA Trophy. I'm Richard Watts, and I was club secretary at the time, and I'm delighted to be joined by Billy Heath, who was the manager, his assistant Mark CARROLL, and Phil Withers, who was the press officer. We're going to have a round-by-round look back at the competition, but we started by having a talk about the year before, where Ferriby had played Lincoln City in the FA Trophy and had a fantastic win. That was a terrific 4-0 win at Lincoln.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I only watched the video a couple of weeks ago. I was going through an old box of things I've got because I wanted to get the FA Trophy final video out, and I had that. And obviously, we've got a little bit of time on our hands, and we watched it. And to be fair, at the time, they were obviously full-time team, and sometimes you want to smash and grab that day. I mean, we went there and absolutely tore them to bits, and it could have been a little bit more than 4 at the time. So I think with that group of lads, that really was the first time that, a performance where you thought, you know what, they can go places, this team.
But I think Bob, it's sort of like epitomised that side that we were going to places, and we didn't fear anybody. They had that mental attitude. We tried to work on the attitude when we first come to the club, that we were not inferior to anybody, and it took time. But I think that's when it really showed that group of players were really, whoever we were playing, we didn't feel inferior to any of them. Going from Ferriby, which is obviously a small village pitch, if you like, and the setup, and then you go to the likes of Lincoln at the time, which is a huge football club and still is, but it was as if it was another game for us, and that's what we did. We didn't show any fear, and like you say, we could have easily won by more that day, and I think that was sort of like, when you start winning big games, it just gives people that belief, and that's what the players added massively. The full players that we brought in the next season, there were a certain type of player, weren't they?
I think so. If I remember right, a couple of their players had done some sort of video about the game, and they sort of didn't particularly show us a great deal of respect, which I think it got played on the lads played it in the changing rooms on the Thursday night. I think it had come out as if to say they just had to turn up. So I think. But I think at the time, Lincoln, I mean, if you look at the way they treated us after we'd won the game, where there was no food or anything put on, and we weren't allowed up, and we had to get straight on the coach. I think that at the time summed the football club up. So I think they didn't do themselves any favours with some comments leading up to the game, I don't think.
Well, I remember one of the directors in the boardroom saying, "No, we've just got beaten by a pub team."
Yeah, well, there you go. You see, if that's the attitude at the top, then it's going to filter down to the bottom. I think it's like anything. Over the years, when you've walked into football clubs, especially non-league, you get a feel for it, and sometimes when things aren't going so well and things are rotten, you get a feeling as soon as you come through the gate. Whereas and it works the other way when you go to certain grounds and how you treat and how everybody is in and around it. It's a good barometer of how the football, which direction the football club's going in. And at the time, obviously, Lincoln won particularly well. Obviously, they're not in the position they are today, and I think that sort of epitomised their attitude towards that game of football that day.
Yeah. The Lincoln fans were streaming out well before the end of the game, 3-0, 4-0 down. They knew they weren't going to come back from it. Realised we're getting played off the park. But they just walked out. Maybe that was the best way of letting the team know what they thought of them, rather than staying in the stadium and booing. I don't know. But I've never seen a ground empty that early before the end of a match.
Yeah, you want seen some of our performances at Halifax. No, they definitely didn't leave the stage just to give us pelters, I think. But no, I know what you mean. It was just from start to finish. It was probably the perfect performance, really, that day.
So we then come on to the FA Trophy season. We're starting the third qualifying round. It's 6-2 win against Nicklin, so not a bad start.
Yeah, to be fair, I was speaking to Bill about it early on today, just about the games and everything. But the one abiding memory of that was, I think, Dent's running with the ball from the halfway line, getting put through. He was like somebody had released the baby giraffe, and he ran and then slotted it in the bottom corner. I believe it was his hat-trick goal. But yeah, that's my one abiding memory of that game.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, like, I think if I'm right, Rich, I think it was 1-1 at half time, was it?
It was, yes.
Yeah, it was 1-1 at half time, Phil. So
Well, actually, no, it was 1-0 at half time. Sorry, they equalised just after half time with a penalty.
Yeah, I remember him equalising. So you're thinking, this is getting a bit precarious. I think we've done ever so well in the first half. I think we dominated, but you're in 1-0, then they got the goal. But like Bob says, seeing Dent's running from the halfway line and slotting it past the keeper, your day's definitely done then when you see Big Dent's running with the football, because we told him never in any circumstances ever run with it. So, that was Dent's remit, was to never run with it, just get himself in the box and we'll do the rest for him and he can get on the end of things. But no, it was a good start. It was an emphatic win in the end, and it, like I say, once again, it just sets you on the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know whether Richard was thinking the same thing I was when they got the equaliser just after half time, that it's just going to be another game where Ferriby are going to lose a cup tie against a team from a lower division, because the record over the years at Ferriby before your time, and the record against lower placed teams was dreadful in cup matches on the whole.
Yeah, massively. No, and like I say, I think when they did equalise, Phil, I think they had a good spell as well. I think the game shifted massively, and I remember I think they had like a 10-minute spell where I think they nearly got second, and then you're thinking, but like I say, it all ended well in the end, and it set us on the way.
And fantastic game in the second round, Boston United.
Yeah, well, we were almost out of that, weren't we? I mean, that was the start of Adam Nicklin's run of penalty saves. We'd been with us for, I think it was about 5 or 6 seasons previous to that, Bill, and he'd hardly saved a penalty.
Yeah, Adam don't save penalties, believe it or not.
And he just, in that season, I mean, obviously, I think that only got sent off and kind of stuck it. We later had at Halifax with us, and I think Adam pushed it onto the crossbar.
And,
that's right.
Literally last kick of the game. I think Kendo equalised, didn't he? Down to 10 men, and one of them we thought, we've got to go to Boston on Tuesday night now. But yeah, and then I think what did we take? How many fans did we take that Tuesday night? We didn't get into double, did we? I don't think. Basically, that was sort of what started our rivalry, I think, with Boston. We had which obviously culminated in the playoff semi-final. When we came back, I think there was no love lost really between Ferriby and Boston at the time. Obviously, them being the sort of bigger club, I think it was a bit of a smash and grab again at their place. I think we defended well and got a couple of goals later on, didn't we?
Yeah, Jason got a goal after 72 minutes, and then Kendo got the second one well into added time.
Yeah.
But again, Boston's one of the few places where I've been with Ferriby over the years, and actually lost my temper with visiting officials and staff because of their attitude to the team. Just so much, all you do is kick teams was their attitude. You don't play any football, you kick teams off the park. You got no skill, you got no this, you got no that. And then, of course, you turn them over and they don't like it.
The thing is, Phil, over a period of time, we became Boston's bogey team. I think obviously you're massively into the stats, Phil, but I think if you look over that period and onwards, from then onwards, I don't think they beat as many times home or away. I might be wrong, but I think probably in eight games, I think we only ever lost twice or something like that, and maybe even more on our favour. But the problem is it's like anywhere. When you're a small club and you're mixing with big football clubs, they don't like it. No, nobody likes it. I've said all along, unfortunately, we never get the credit. I don't think we never get the credit that the achievements, the players certainly never got the credit that their achievements deserved because of our so-called style. We're still getting it levelled now, Philip, about our so-called style. But if you speak to anybody who really, it was an excuse for teams that were getting beat by us. All the big teams threw it at us the way we played. Said before, what people never congratulate us or say well done to us. I mean, we played with two wingers. We always played, we played with two wingers. They probably weren't your natural. Danny Clarke certainly, that season as a big right-sided midfield player. But he was still a wide player in theory. But we had this label, and me and Bobby have still got this label now, that we play a certain way, and the basics were that we had players that wanted to work massively, extremely hard, and that was the first stepping stone. And because we was a smaller team, we always set out to stop the other team playing first. Whatever we did first 20 minutes of any game, we stopped the other team playing. And then we imposed the way we wanted to play. But we used to get creative. We had what we're talking about today, led to the final. But all the successes, Evo, State, Conference, North, the players were never given the credit because of apparently the style of play that we have. But I'd rather win than have any style of play. And that's what we did for a long period. And I think, that's where, that Boston game, we weathered the storm. I think that Boston game, we were under the cosh for long periods. They were better than us for probably 70 minutes, Phil. If I remember right, they were better than us for 70 minutes, but it's no good for 70 minutes. It's how the game finished. And that's what we were very, very good at. That if you look at the results in the road to Wembley, if you like, we were very good at managing football games at certain times, and the players were fantastic at it, absolutely fantastic at it.
There must be a lot of resilience as well, because you look at a lot of the games, a number of late goals that were scored, just keeping going.
Yeah, well, you look at that, and it's sort of like epitomises the character of player that you had, Rich. You were with these boys all the time, around match days. If there's one thing what the boys were, I've said all along, what was the key to that Ferriby team, and other Ferriby teams after that and slightly before that, they always had resilience, but they were made of the right stuff, and the players took huge responsibility. The modern day footballer now wants to be told how to play. He wants to be told in the ins and out of every game before he even starts the game. That's the way it is. But that team took responsibility. It took responsibility off the pitch, and it took responsibility on the pitch. And collectively, if you stripped them down individually, there were good players, but there was no real superstars. There was no real, the key to this was, like I say, the key to this was the resilience and the togetherness and the will to win as well. The will to win. And the squad that season was really, really good squad. A really good squad. Not just the starting 11. It was, there was nothing between the players in the, even going into them games. The team didn't change massively, but even in the final, there was nothing between the starting 11 and the 5, 6, the 5 that was on the bench, and then a couple of lads that sat in the stand. That was the key. That was the key to it all.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you're saying about you feeling the team never got the credit, and I think we felt that in the boardroom, didn't we, Richard?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially at the away grounds, it was almost a case of, what you're doing at this level to start with. Like as you said earlier, it's a village team, the best within the world. So what are you doing at this level, playing in large stadiums against teams with massive wage bills? And they just didn't appreciate the qualities the team had, as you say. They'd just run for each other, they'd work for each other, and they weren't without skill.
Well, the thing is, Phil, that there was a lot of skill in the team. There was a lot of players that could actually play. there was that, but you know, it didn't affect me and Bobby. We were just interested in winning. You know, I've always had this thing. It doesn't matter how you play; it makes no difference to me. Yeah, we like to entertain. We'd love to get it down and pass teams off the park, but we've never had that privilege of having a team sort of like that. We've always had to, like I say, our first mindset was we stopped the other team playing. But I think the players, it didn't bother me and Bobby what was, you know, what was, it still doesn't bother to me to this day. It makes no difference because it's all about winning. On what the players did, I think some of the players felt a little bit that they didn't get the credit that they deserved. And I still think they didn't. But, you know, me and Bobby, we've been around quite, you know, it was a long time we've been around, so it made no difference to us. It was solely just about winning games, and that, you know, that's all we've ever focused on from the beginning.
And then into the next round, it was 2-0 home win at Hyde. Fairly straightforward game from what I remember.
Do you know what, Rich? That's the one game I've not got a great deal of memory of out of the full cup run that year. It was as you say, what I can remember, it was quite uneventful and quite straightforward, really. Without, you know, you look at the other games and there were standout moments. It was tight. It was, you know, we had a little bit of luck here and there, but I just think it was quite comfortable. And it doesn't really stick out much in my memory, that one.
Yeah, it was one of those games where there was a strong wind blowing down the pitch all the way through, and that obviously affects the game no end. But once again, picking up what Richard said, late goals. Tom Denton got one in the 81st minute, and Brian Kendall got the clinching goal in the 90th. And we're sitting there, I think, looking, this could be a replay. Monday evening, I think, would have been Hyde's night. But credit against the players, they kept going. And,
well, I think Phil, like I said, Phil, I think that's all like epitomised it. The players kept playing the same way. You know, even if it won't quite working for us on any given day, the players kept playing. We kept playing the same way. We didn't jump suddenly. And say, right, we're going to do this now. We just kept. We had a belief, and the players bought into it massively, because at the end of the day, the players have to deliver. But we never ever jumped around. When I say we kept doing the same things, and in so many games, in the end, it got us over the line. And that's why sometimes, like going back, I think sometimes it probably, you know, people were expecting, oh, well, we're going to change to do this, or we're going to switch to do this. We had the belief, and the players had the belief, if we kept going at what we were good at, if we kept going, we'd get something out of games. And I think that's what we did, and that's what we did in a lot of games. You know, not just the cup run, in league games, we kept doing what we were good at, what the players understood, what we wanted them to do. And in the end, I think we got our rewards because of that.
I think also as well is when you've got somebody who's 6'6", 6'7", and he's the best at what he does, you're not going to play the ball in it be intricate. At the end of the day, it's down to defences to deal with him. I mean, the only time we really, to be fair, I mean, we were fortunate enough as well the season before, because we had Ant Wilson, who was a great target man as well. And but the only time we changed slightly was if Dent wanted in the team, because we couldn't go as long too early. But it's down to the personnel you've got. And like I said, one of the other reasons as well was why we kept getting goals later on was if you saw the way the boys trained, they trained like they played. It meant something. If you made a mistake in training or you got beat in a training game, they weren't happy. It wasn't where they turned up and it was just jolly. They turned up and they took that mentality onto the pitch. So it was drummed into them, and that's why they came. So that's why, you know, they hung on and just become a habit.
Yeah, massive. I mean, how many times on a Thursday, say, we only had them for a couple of hours on Tuesday, and we could have had as long as we wanted on a Thursday. But how many times did we just do an hour? Because it was that ferocious for an hour. It was that much. You're thinking, we're going into Saturday, and they'd have gone on forever. These boys would have trained forever. They'd have just gone on forever. But we had to cut it literally an hour every Thursday because they were flying into each other. There was little there was little competitions going off in gear, you know, in what we were doing, because they all had the same mindset. And you know, once again, I talk about responsibility, but they literally had responsibility for each other, and they didn't want to let each other down in any shape or form. And if anybody's standards slipped, you didn't just have the staff, the management staff, would press them and we pressed them and we pressed them. And we pushed so hard. I mean, you know, we pushed them so hard for standards, you know. But I think the players managed that as well massively. There was no letting up in any training session. It was like I say, it was ferocious in every training session because of the desire to want to win things and to win.
I mean,
and that was huge.
The prime example of that, Bill, when you think about it, you look at two lads who travelled in together, and that was Oni and Jarman, best mate. They were at each other constantly in training because they wanted to win.
Yeah, they'd go to war. They'd be in the car together, and they'd literally, you would have to pull them apart. And I don't mean pull them out fisticuffs, but physically, they'd come after each other in training sessions. You know, and that bred into everything. And you know, that season we had some big characters. I don't like to use the word egos because that was the good thing about that side. The egos, there wasn't egos, there were characters. There's a big difference between being a big character and a big ego. A lot of big egos can't back it up, but they were big characters. You know, you go through the side of characters. You know, some quiet lads, but we had some big characters, some players that had been about, and like I say, were very, very vocal. But for us as a management team, at times it was very, very easy because they kept the standards up within that changing room, and that's another big thing. You know, that's another big thing. We're talking about the Wembley thing, but that's another big thing. And things have changed because they kept the standards up with themselves. The characters in that changing room, and they made themselves responsible for everything. They were accountable for everything. If somebody made a mistake in our changing rooms, in that group of players, they would hold their hands up. There'd be no hiding. There'd be no somebody trying to shy away from it. They'd hold their hands up. They'd be expecting a volley. You know, they'd be expecting sometimes an hairdryer, which, you know, we were never short in coming forward, but they would hold their hands up and they would be accountable for it without any question. And that was massive. That was huge.
So yeah, trip to Farnborough for the third round. And I remember from that Adam Nicklin having a fantastic first half. The first half.
It still reminds me about that at least once a month at work. It reminds me about that every time we have a little bit of banter. But no, I mean, to be fair, it was just outstanding. Some of the saves. I mean, there must have been at least 5 top class saves. And obviously we got a couple. I think was it a couple of headers. Was it Denton and Kendo? A couple of headers first half.
Yeah, they'd absolutely battered us for the first 20 minutes, and Dent's got the first goal after 19, but totally against the run of play.
Yeah, I remember.
Like you say, Adam had made some superb saves by that point. We could probably have been 3 down.
Yeah, and then second half, to be fair, Adam Boulder controlled the game for us. Just saw us over the line. He was magnificent. He was absolutely magnificent. He just kept the ball. He kept the lad's shape, and in the end, I can't really recall him having too many chances. We considering how we'd been under the pump first half. I thought second half was totally different. We really did. He showed his class that day, and he controlled the midfield second half, and it was quite comfortable in the end.
Yeah, the second goal 30 minutes in, and that just killed them off. They totally lost heart after that, Farnborough. And didn't really threaten us at all throughout the rest of the game.
No, I think it was only one of the first times in a long period of games where we didn't start well, Phil. If I'm honest, I think it was the overnight stay as well.
I think we had so much food, Bill.
Well, yeah,
I've never known so many players running off during the warm-up to go to the toilet.
I don't think from top to bottom. I don't think they enjoyed the overnight. I think they didn't enjoy the overnight stay, but I think they enjoyed the breakfast in the morning. And I think some of them had been to breakfast a lot before we got there. And I think they'd eaten themselves. I think Tom Denton had eaten basically his body weight in sausages. And I've never seen so many players, our players particularly, just being so lethargic and starting the game.
Liam King came up to me in the warm up and he went, "I just can't get going." And Liam, that was his game, wasn't it? I mean, he was a box to box midfield player, and he just said, "I just can't get."
But like
in some ways, it was go on, Bill.
No, I said once again, it was a team that we got absolutely, like you said, you and Bob said, Phil, we got pummeled for 20 minutes, and I mean, it could have been 3. It got without, Adams made the saves, and quite rightly, he was absolutely magnificent, and we got pummeled, but we kept going, and then this was the thing, and then, like I say, we got the goal against the run of play, and then we came to life. We came to life a little bit. But once again, it was, like I say, the second half, the way they saw the game out after a really, really bad first half, but the way they saw the game out, the players understood massively how to finish a game off, we were 2-0 up away from home, we'd been pummeled, but even at half time, they didn't go really looking for the third. They didn't really, we didn't push for the third because we didn't need to. The game management of that group of players was phenomenal, and as much as we talked about half time, again, the players have to execute and they have to follow it through. And like Bob says, Adam Boulder controlled the game from the first minute of the second half, and we didn't really push for the second goal. We saw the game out, and once again, they just did a fantastic job. Talk about managing a football game. They really managed the football game that day.
Yeah, one of the funny things about that particular tie was some of the comments that were made before the match, a few days leading up to it, because reading some of the press reports, you would have thought we were an invading northern horde of, I don't know what, it looks as though they were going to look up the women, because they wanted them protected from these northerners coming down.
We loved all that. We loved all that. It was doing our job for us. I mean, didn't they describe Denton as some sort of, as if he was some beast coming down from the north, 6 foot? I think by the time he got to the pitch, he wasn't 6'5" or 6'7", which one he wanted to pick at times. I think he was like 7'2". I think he was I think he was like the biggest man in the UK. Something, by the time he come, and we were this terrorising wrecking machine. And to be fair, at times we were. At times we were a wrecking machine at times, but it was quite funny. I think one of the lads, I remember Bob, one of the lads, they tweeted, one of their fans had tweeted a picture of like Dents, like a spoof picture of Dents, and it was this tallest man in Britain from about the 1920s or something.
Oh yeah, he was shaking hands with somebody in a window on the top floor of an house. It just says Tom Denton leaving the hotel, thanking the hotel staff or something like that.
Yeah, but it was all part of it. We loved all that. We fed into it. We used it to our advantage. We used it to our advantage, definitely.
Yeah, it was a good trip. But you made comment about maybe the overnight stop didn't necessarily do the players any favour. Why do you think that is? The fact that it was the first trip for a long time.
Well, it was the first trip for a long time, I think, for the football club, if I'm not wrong, Phil. It was a long time since the club. And look, professional players are used to having overnight stays. They're used to having that. That's a part of their working life, if you like. But when you've got a group of players that were all part-time, it was not. It wasn't a normal part. It's not a normal part of your football life, your football week. And I think apart from, like you said, that they ate too much at breakfast. I mean, we laugh about that now, but I think not just that, but it did the overnight stay affects players sometimes differently. It affects players. They're not used to it. They're used to sleeping in their own bed and they have a routine. That routine was a total foreign routine for all the players. All the players.
Yeah, well, you just look at Dent. Dent has to have has got a specially made bed because of the size of him, and the bed was just too small. And I know it's silly things like that, but that's what he said, and I think as a not only them, as a club, we learn about when we should eat, what we should do. I mean, if you remember rightly, when we got there, I mean, we had a big 3-course meal on the night, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a learning curve, and I think afterwards, we after the first 20 minutes, we got away with, and after that, it's something we're quite as a football club at the time, and as players and management team and everybody else, we adapted and we learned quite quickly, which again, you know, it stood us in good stead for obviously the Bath and the and obviously the Wembley trip.
And then on to the quarter-finals, Ebbsfleet. What a tight game this was.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was literally, it had 0-0 written all over it, didn't it? Until their lad had a brain freeze, and you know, I mean, we all know what a wind-up merchant on the pitch Danny Owen is. I mean, I mean, he got Omar Bogle sent off, didn't he? Against Solihull. Nathan Otter used to hate playing against him. The lads used to call him the horriblest man in football, because that's what he used to do. And he used to wind people up, and the lad, just for some unknown reason, I mean, literally we were looking and thinking, could we get 11 players to get down to Ebbsfleet on a Tuesday night in short notice? And then the lads just had brain freeze and punched Danny on in the stomach when the corners come in. So it's sometimes when you look back on certain things and a little bit of luck, and I think also as well is, if I might be wrong, but their lads hit an unbelievable strike from just outside the box, which is I'd had them beating all ends up, and it's the corner of the post and the crossbar, I think, towards the back end as well, before we scored our goal. But no, there wasn't much in the game at all.
For me, Bob, Ebbsfleet were the best team we played in the full thing. In the full thing, they were the best team we played. I mean, they were the best team. They were the best team we played there. We were fortunate that we got the home draw for a start. You know, we were fortunate because we'd seen these, and we'd obviously looked into them, and they were impressive. The players they had at the time were impressive, and it was a really, really tight affair. It was a really, really nervy affair, and I thought they were they were a lot like us in ways. You know, I think they were a bit more silky than us, but they were Ebbsfleet at the time were really, really resilient and solid, and were tough. They were tough. I remember them. They were tough like us. I remember after 15 minutes looking at it and thinking, you know what, these are as tough. These were as tough as us, and we're ready for the physical side of it.
Yeah, I think that what they call it. I think they'd obviously done their own work on us. They knew it was a great pitch and everything else, and I think they'd sort of settled for a draw then. You know, at the time it was, and I just can't
massively. But like I say, you know, you say about Oni and about what, you know, that's again, you know, people might think different, but it was another way to win. He found a way to win. You know, only got underneath people's skin. He didn't. For me, again, he never got the credit playing for us what he should have done, because he was, for me at that time, he was one of the best centre halves in our league by a long way. He was right up there with anything. But because he was uncompromising, because he could get under people's skin, the football inside of him, was never given that credit for. But once again, he found a way and he got under the lad's skin, and the lad did the rest for us. And like I say, what a massive decision on the penalty, you know, because, you know, Liam King sticks the penalty away under massive pressure. And he wasn't even, you know, it's quite funny. I think I spoke to Liam 2 days ago, I was speaking to Liam 2 days ago, and Kendo, I think, was supposed to take the penalty, and so Liam tells me he didn't want to take it, so he gave it to Liam, and Liam took the penalty.
His penalty taking was superb, wasn't it, when he started doing it?
Oh, so I mean, to be fair, the two at Wembley were just, I mean, it just.
Yeah, the Farnborough game was Liam's first penalty for the club. First time he got one. The comment I got him after was, "I just fancied taking it."
Yeah, well,
yeah, he was on the peak of his playing career there, Liam. I mean, for what he did, I've never seen a better player at what he did. Liam, in them 2 to 3 seasons, he was magnificent, and the goals he got, and he just was on a roll, and he just fancied it every time the lads got anywhere near a goal or one-on-one or put things through, you expected him to score, and I think he felt exactly the same with the penalties.
Yeah, it was certainly a big hit with the fans, his skill, his attitude, the way he ran the team and everything.
He was another one. It's a lose. Yeah, it's a lose. He couldn't stand it. I think that it was that year what we got beat by Warrington, and where Matty Wilson got sent off, and then Warrington did they get the big TV game?
Yeah, they got the big TV. They went on a run, didn't they? They went on a run.
Yeah.
Me and Liam nearly came to blows in the changing room because he didn't like to lose that much. You know, we got on really well, but it was just but there was a number of people, you know, your Jarmans of this world didn't like to lose only, and people like that. It was just, they were just, I know it's an old cliche, but there was just a changing room full of winners. It really was. And like I said, it's just, you know, credit to them. Like you've already pointed out, the amount of late goals and the amount of games where we were second best for large periods of the games, and we managed to get through it. It just speaks volumes for them.
And then on to the semi-final, and all the way down to Bath, and a fantastic start to that game. Really, it was changed by a penalty decision, wasn't it? Really, it looked done and dusted for the first half. The way that went.
I think Adam Nicklin's injury as well. That is because that was the game he did his ankle in, wasn't it? And I just think literally we dropped so deep. We had to drop so deep because of the lack of mobility he had. And the lads, the equalising goal, if I remember rightly, it was a Wilde, wasn't it? He hit it on the half volley on the run from about 25 yards out, and it just sailed in. But like I say, it was a great start. My abiding memory of that is the coach journey to the ground. It was up and down. I didn't think Danny Clarke was going to be able to play. He got caught travel sickness, didn't he, Bill? He went green.
Yeah, Danny was never the best traveller on any coaches, was he? But like you say, it was up and around and about, and we're looking at him, and we, you know, even in the changing rooms when we're ready to name the team. He didn't look in great shape, but you know, we won't progress to the final. But if you look at the performance in the final, Danny's played numerous times for me and Bobby when he should have never have played, and probably that game he should have never. But he's just his willingness, and that, you know, that characteristic was running all the way through that side. And like I say, we were in, you know, I think we'd learned the lessons. I think we'd learned the lessons from Farnborough. You know, we'd learned our lessons from Farnborough, and we started the game against Bath. We started so well. I mean, we were really dominating them massively. And then the penalty changed the game slightly. We felt it was unjust, and I think we lost our focus a little bit. And then, like I said, the lad equalised with a worldie. But I think really we'd learned our lessons, you know, from the Farnborough performance.
Well, the penalty decision, Richard and I were obviously sitting up with the home directors, and a lot of their sponsors were sat around us, obviously. And the whistle went for the penalty, and even all the Farnborough people around us saying, well, what on earth is that for? You know, much as you like penalties for your own team, they just couldn't believe that Mark Gray's challenge had got them a penalty. They just couldn't see any reason why whatsoever.
No, I mean, I think we're once again pointing to the side of its qualities again, Phil. We did have some decisions all along go against us, you know. But I think, yeah, okay, it unsettled us for short periods. I think the side was good at just that resilience again, Phil. You know, whether it would be going to go down, whether it be a decision, whether it be, I think that resilience and that, you know, the way we bounced back from certain things that happened, it just ran through the side. You know, if we got an unjust decision that we felt, and we did get quite a few at times, you know, I know every manager says that, but I think because of that village club, you know, we're a smaller club, and I don't care what anybody says, when you're the bigger football club, you sometimes get the rub of the green, whether you're in the Premiership or whether you're in the North East Counties. The bigger football club sometimes gets the rub of the green. But I think it was just that resilience that the players had. And the characters, again, the characters they had, the Matty Wilsons of this world, and people like that. You know, Bobby's named a few. The full team was full of resilience and you know, the attitude of if things went wrong, we'll put it right.
I think also as well is if you know, as much as being 2-0 up and then it gets back to 2-2 before the game, if that's what we said to the players afterwards, before the game, to take them back to our place and still be on level peggings, would have took that. So you quickly get over the disappointment of being 2-0 up and get back to 2-2. And you're in a football match now to get to Wembley and you know, with the travel and the distance, and it was quite an old ground. It was full. It was quite an intimidating atmosphere, and you could easily have been out the tie, but we wasn't. We were well and truly in it. So rather than sort of dwell on the negative side of it, of losing a 2-goal lead, it was literally a case of, you know, you take the positives out of it, and that's what we always look to do.
And was that the first time that Jason St Just really came to the boil? Because I know if you look in the earlier rounds, Jamie Yates was on the left wing, wasn't he, in the early rounds? But I thought St Just had a really good first half, didn't he?
Yeah, he suddenly, and I mean, in other games he linked up really, really well with Denton, because I said it at the time, and I used to say to, you know, because Bill's always had this thing, and I'll admit it, he's not a big lover of sort of little wingers, and he always used to say, "What's your mate doing? Why is your mate not playing today?" I mean, we can go through the teams, but when you look back on it, as quiet as some of the games, he always had an assist, or he always did something to, you know, so you'd stick with him, because even if he was being poor and he maybe didn't track back, sometimes he'd always come up with something, and he had this great habit of just, you know, getting a yard and standing one up for dents, and he just had that little bit about him where he'd be quiet for 60-70 minutes, and then he'd either create a goal or score a goal. So at the time, it was a great weapon to have, was Jason.
And on to the second leg. I mean, what a fantastic atmosphere! About 1,800 people packed in, just amazing, and a disastrous start really, with them getting an early goal. Yeah,
he got in between. I think was it Greg and Arnie he got in between. I might be wrong. I mean, it was hard to want it, and you looked at it, but yeah, it was again. You know, you didn't want to. We were saying about starting football matches, and then, you know, I think if I remember rightly, we missed some good chances, and the keepers pulled off a couple of good saves off Kendo and stuff, and you just think, is it not going to be our day? But it was a bit of a nervy start, but then it was a big occasion, wasn't it? So
yeah, it bounced back well though. And looking at my report on the game, could have been 3-1 up quite easily before half time, but their goalkeeper made some good saves. Okay, it's what he's paid for, but would have been nice to have seen some of the shots go in. We went in at half time 1 down, and second half get the equaliser with another Liam King penalty halfway through the half.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was, and then after that, it was a case of, you know, who holds a nerve. Am I right in saying Russ got sent off in extra time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
103 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
2 yellow
So,
cards. Don't know what they can't
yeah.
remember what they were for now, but
Yeah, I don't know if it was one for handball. It was on to stretch or something. I can't remember, but it was a bit, it was a bit of a juice. So we'd gone from being on top, if I remember rightly, to then suddenly have to change the game plan of literally saying, we're going to have to hold on to take this to penalties now.
And when it did come to the penalties, I mean, how good were they? All those 4 penalties, they're absolutely terrific, weren't they? They never looked like missing any of them.
No, well, to be fair as well, we're literally with a minute to go. I remember saying to Bill, we need to get balls on this pitch, because if it goes to penalties, if you look, he's one of the most experienced players. I think his penalty showed that, where he just walked up to it and waited for the keeper. It was unbelievable. So we managed to get him on literally with a minute to go, and I think we took Danny Clarke off.
We did see.
Clarke is the worst penalty, and I admit it himself, he's the worst penalty taker. He'd already, when we was at Frickley, he'd already cost us 2 penalty shootouts. He did, and he openly admitted he said in his penalty shootout, he said Adam Nicklin was going before me.
He has a lot of attributes, Danny, but penalties are not one of them. But
I think he actually thanked. He come off and he went, "Thanks for that, Bob."
Yeah.
He said, penalties, but the penalties, again, composure, and again, Adam suddenly came to the fore, didn't he? He suddenly saved another penalty. Oh, was it 2 or 1?
saved the first 2.
Saved 2, yeah. Yeah.
But I think just going back to Adam Boulder, what an influence he had. He was used. He didn't used to play every game. We didn't start him every game. He played a lot of football. But he didn't start every game. We had to spell him. But like I say, another guy who just had abundance of experience, and for all the places he'd been, for all he played at the highest level, he bought into what we wanted to do, and he played obviously, let's say, at the highest level, and we played a certain way, and he bought into it straight away, and there was no questions about, well, shall we do it? He rubbed off on so many players, did Adam Boulder. His attitude was phenomenal, and you've seen it before with big players, because at the end of the day, when you talk about big players, there's nobody bigger than Adam Boulder from where he was and what he was. But he had this down-to-earth attitude, and it rubbed off onto other people. And he once again, a character in the changing room that literally just did everything right. Everything about him, he did everything right. And like they say, if we told him to play that way, he played that way. He didn't deviate from the plan. He literally, and he showed others the way at times. And like I say, some of his performances in this run were key. They were really, really key. And just a top professional. Just a top professional.
The big thing for me about Balls was the respect he showed everybody.
Yes.
Because we've had this before where players have come and they tend to look down, and it's this. But the respect he showed the players, through to the chairman, through to the management, through to the physio, through to everybody, it was just first class, and that's why the lads just looked up to him, because he wouldn't mention his career unless people asked. He didn't come and ram it down people's throats that he played in the Premiership and stuff like this. People, you literally have to ask, about his career, because he wouldn't in it, and it was just a top, not just a top player, but just a top bloke as well.
But I think when you said there, see the respect there, I think that ran through the side as well. We had a team of players, all of them, from even the younger lads like Louis Bruce and people like that who was there at the time.
Yeah, Timmy Taylor and that.
They all respected everybody. It wasn't as if it was like, the young players, you go sit in a corner over there, and the oldest players, and then we had a middle section. There was no sections to the team. It was literally every single player, no matter what age there was, no matter what background that came, whether you'd played in the Premiership or you hadn't played a game yet. That was what it was about. It was about that respect thing, that they all they all stood each other's corner, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what. And that was the key to, and that was the key which inevitably that was the key to Wembley. That was the key to Wembley.
Yeah, I thought the key to winning at Wembley was the training session that we had down at the West Ham training ground when Richard and I were involved in the free kick routines.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely, Rick. I mean, Phil, because but that's what sort of the football club was like, wasn't it? Though, I mean, where would you think where you're going to Wembley, and because we didn't have enough players to work on a routine, we brought yourself and Richard in, and all, and jokes aside, I mean, you loved it and it was great. The lads loved it because that's how relaxed it was. Though there was not a lot of tension flying about.
I know, so it's absolutely terrifying studying that wall when Nathan Jarman's running up to hit one.
Yeah, I would have been rich. That's why I put you in. That's why I put you in and not me and Bobby. But that's what the club was about, though, wasn't it? You know, that's sort of like epitomised it. I don't think Wrexham would have had the secretary. The secretary. I don't think they'd have been planning a game. But that's what you need. That's what it was about, Rich, and that's exactly what we had to do. We didn't have enough players, so we used everything we could. We got the last drop out of everybody, and you enjoyed it. But you go back to that training session. There was no nerves. We said we was going to enjoy it. I mean, I've always said I've done things before and talked about the Wembley thing. I would have been devastated, and I know everybody would have been. But for me, and I know I think Bob slightly disagrees, but for me, it'd have been a waste of time if we'd have got beat at Wembley. It sounds really, really harsh, but if we'd have got beat at Wembley, it'd have been a waste of time to me, because it was just about winning. That was that focus about winning. As we talked to the players in the weeks leading up to it, and I'd said to them quite openly, and whether that might have added more pressure or not, but I said, look, it's West Ham. We're not going for a trip, or it'll be a waste of time if we don't win. If we don't win, it's a West Ham. But we had the mindset, as much as we were massive underdogs, we had the mindset that we could win. You won't see after the first half, and probably when they scored the second goal, that there was any way back. I mean, first time I watched the DVD was 2 days ago, and I haven't watched it. I've literally watched it once before, so it's only the second time I've ever seen it. Seriously, Rich, people might think, oh, you watch it over. No, it's only the second time I've seen it. But, after when we go 2-0 down, they don't look any way that we can come back. Anywhere we can come back. But that's where we were different.
Yeah, so looking at the final, we conceded a goal after 11 minutes, and I suppose a lot of people were probably thinking, well, this is what we expected, and it's going to be a case of how many Wrexham can get. I know prior to the game, talking to a number of their fans over press issues and what have you, they were really confident, really cocky that it was going to be a very easy day for them, and they wanted to celebrate their 150th anniversary with the win. And they said, is there anything that we could do as two clubs together with all the fans, because we really do want to celebrate? And I said, well, in actual fact, we want to celebrate as well, because if I remember rightly, Billy, it was your and Bobby's 700th game as managers.
Yeah, it was, Phil, but it's no surprise, because it was. There were I think, there were massive favourites, weren't they? And in a way, Phil, quite rightly, because of, no disrespect to us at the time, but they were Wrexham, Phil. They were a league club. They were a football league club not many years before, and they were a huge football club. And they thought, I think they just thought they were going to turn up and probably looked at the way we played and thought, well, yeah, if we could nullify certain elements, then we should win the game. But obviously it went that way for about 60 minutes, and then it changed. But I think, for me, the full weekend was just fantastic. You know, from start to finish, from leaving the school, Phil, to, you know, leaving Ferriby School to watching England on the Friday, to training at West Ham, which we'd sorted out with Steve Bruce. It was all the preparation. I mean, you know, the preparation from Les was just first class. I mean, you know, everything was there for us. Everything was catered for. So all the preparation was fantastic. The full affair was fantastic. But like I say, going back to the game, there were massive favourites, and for 60 minutes it looked that way. It looked that way.
And taking it back even further, I just remember a selection thing, because Jason St Just got called up by St Kitts, didn't he, to play in the World Cup for them, which was going to be at the day of Wembley. And did he retire from international football, so he was able to play? I can't remember how that panned out, but I knew he was called up by St Kitts.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Jason had a choice to make. And then, well, he did. He thought he had a choice to make. he thought he did, and then he decided I was right. So, and then he came to his senses and said, "Yeah, the gaffer's right. I'll do what I'm told." But no, well, yeah. I mean, it was a big issue, because the boy wanted to play, and when he had two massive opportunities for him, but he came, you know, he made the right decision, and the rest is history. But it was a game that he was fantastic in. It was a game that, you know, it was massively important to us, like all the players were. But team selection was difficult, Rich. You know, I mean, what we did with Wembley, because people have asked me a lot about, we never changed the routine, really. We didn't. The players probably knew what the starting 11 was when we was at West Ham, because we worked on a few, you know, we worked on set pieces, we worked on some shape. You know, we've been playing, you know, shape-wise. We didn't deviate from the plan, like I said, but they knew what the starting 11 was from the set pieces at West Ham. But the substitutes didn't know until we named the side. We didn't change it. We didn't suddenly tell people on Friday or travelling down who was going to be the squad. We didn't tell who was going to be in the actual match day squad until we named the team. And because we wanted to try and keep it as normal. I mean, you can't be normal playing at Wembley, but as close to our match day presentation, you know, schedule, if you like, as what we were doing. That's what we did. You know, and some people were bitterly disappointed, but that's the way we wanted to do it. We didn't want to change our routine. It was difficult, but like I said, but once again, the attitude was phenomenal. You know, the attitude was great. It was phenomenal. We went on, and like I say, we had some big choices to make, but we got it right.
And again, Adam Nicklin's still got quite a bad injury, hasn't he, for this game?
Well, Adam should have never played. I mean, it was simple as that. There's no way he should have took field. Never, no chance. He couldn't kick it. We would. I can't remember. Bob might help me out, but I don't even think he really trained at West Ham. He couldn't train. He couldn't do anything. I don't think he trained. We certainly did. I don't think he did anything for 2 weeks. I think prior to the game, no, he didn't do anything after the Bath game. Nothing. He didn't kick another ball. And literally, even the training session at West Ham, he did nothing. He just literally stood, because we'd been having treatment, but literally it needed another 2-3 weeks. I mean, and when you look back at the game, there were periods where it did hurt us a lot that he couldn't kick, because one of our best weapons, obviously Tom Denton, even on the restarts, goal kicks even, he's not even reaching the halfway line. So we couldn't get up the field anywhere. We couldn't get up the field. So, you know, Adam was really, really struggling, but he played, and the rest, as they say, is history. But once again, just the character of Adam. I know it's a big carrot to go and play at Wembley, but he desperately wanted to play. I think other keepers probably might have even, because he was in that bad a shape, to be fair. He was in a really, really poor shape.
And then during the game,
Liam King penalty that got the team back into the game. 14 minutes to go. Must have been the coolest player in the ground at that time.
I think to be fair, I've watched the game back and Jason's just got man of the match. But for me, he had a good game. But for me, Danny Clarke was outstanding. I watched it back the other week, and it's just his run and his determination to get there before the goalkeeper. And it was just everything. For the first 20 minutes, we were like rabbits caught in the headlight, and then Clarke went on some sort of run, and it just lifted everybody, and he just took the game by the scruff of the neck. When we made a change, we played him at the point in a 3 because we'd gone 4-4-2 and make the change, and he made the big difference, and he got the penalty, and then obviously Liam's, because I watched the game back. Liam had quite a quiet game. It bypassed him a little bit, but like the big moments in the game where. It's massive. That penalty was massive, because if we miss that, then we've got no chance. And he couldn't have put it any better. It reminded me a little bit of how Harry Kane takes his penalties for England. He just came up to it, and he was so confident. And that was it. After that, we just again looking back on it, we couldn't have gone to penalties really. We got 3-2 up, and it was a great strike, but. He's got us back into the game, and like you say, a lot of that is down to Danny Clarke.
But see, I watched the game like 2 days ago, mate, and obviously Kendo got plaudits, and quite rightly, for his goals, and Jason's had just got the big, the big star over him. But I'd watch the game, and Clarke does when we have to go for it, if you like, to try and get back in the game, and Clarke goes into centre midfield, and that was Danny's more natural position really than the wide position. We played Danny there because that's sort of like fitted into how we wanted to play. But he started to make runs, and he started to make tackles, and he started to get on top of the team. But if I'm honest, and like I say, I've only ever watched the DVD twice. For me, the man of the match, when I've watched it, and that's only 2 days ago, my man of the match was Danny Owen. My man of the match was Danny Owen because the reason why is because his performance was constant from minute 1 to the end of extra time. His performance was constant, mate. He literally has 2. He blocks the one on the line. He saves 2 with interceptions. Well, there's one in extra time that everybody forgets about when they broke on us, and literally, it's when it's 3-3, and I think he break the break on us, and he makes an interception that it's like you've never seen. And for me, like I say, it gone from my man, but Danny Owen was unbelievable that day. Unbelievable. I think he loses probably 2 headers in, and I know it hurts to say centre half when it's been a game like that. Well, that's coming from an ex-centre half probably, but Danny Owen's performance was the complete performance. Complete performance for me. He was totally outstanding. And like you say, some other people had quiet games. Some other people had big key moments. But like I said, Danny Owen's performance was just fantastic.
And it
you brought Ryan Kendall on 10 minutes from the end in place of Russ Fry. Was that probably one of the most memorable decisions you've made in your career?
Well, it was an easy game in a way, Phil. It was an easy game to manage because the way the game had panned out. You know what I'm saying? It sounds straight. It sounds. We were 2-0 down. We had to get Clarke into the middle to give us a bit more legs and a bit more thrust because he was forward. We had Russell and Bowles sitting. So we had to get Clarke into the middle to make more forward runs and to be more thrusting and to get a bit more legs in there, not so much quality. So we had to get Jarman on the right-hand side because we didn't really have, if you look at our bench, we didn't really have any option. We didn't really have any other options, widening. So Jarman got the nod at Kendall coming on at the time he did because Jarman was more of a footballer than what Kendo was. You know, Jarman could sit in that position. It wasn't natural to Jarman to go on the right-hand side, but he could handle that position better than what Kendo could. You know what I mean? It wasn't natural for Jarman. And then, literally, we had to take another midfield player off, i.e. Russ, because we had to go for it, Phil. You know, we had to. You know, once we got the goal, it was 2-1, and it's like, do we stick on? You know, we know we had to get a second goal, but you didn't want to do it too early because you didn't want to let them in again. So it was just that balancing act. But we had to get Kendo on the pitch. You know, at the end of the day, he scored a lot of goals for us the season before, and there were easy substitutions to make, Phil, because we had to get him on the pitch. There was not, you know what I'm saying, Phil? I'm not playing it down, but we had to get him on the pitch, Phil. You know, we had to go for it. And I think he came on with about 12 minutes to go, did he, Phil, or something like that? Was it 12 minutes
I got it down as 80 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah, 10 minutes to go. Like I say, what an impact. You know, but they were ready. You could see that. Look, the biggest decision of the and like I say, I've got to be careful. But the biggest decision that was made in the full game was when Wrexham took Dean Keats off. He'd been controlling it, hadn't he? That was the biggest decision. You know, that was the biggest decision, Phil, because he was controlling the play. And when I watched the video, I listened to Burns' commentary, and he might have had the know-how to see the game out. You know, his experience just sat, and he kept getting on the football. I mean, I've looked at it, and I've analysed it again. And even when we got little balls behind him and things dropped behind him, and even when we were running off people, he just seemed to be, when centre-halves got caught out of position, he just kept dropping in behind the centre-halves at times and mopping things up. And suddenly, that cohesion went from their team. You know, it went from their team. But once again, you know, I don't think there'll be a group of lads ever that could be 2-0 down after 60-odd minutes and then still have the belief. But the belief was still there. And I think, like I said before, the belief was still there. And once again, they found a way, didn't they? They found a way to get themselves back into the game and, in the end, win it.
Yeah, and again, once the equaliser went in, the Wrexham fans just started booing their own players. Right, really bizarre in a final. 2-2, either team could have won it. Although I think there's probably a feeling amongst a lot of us there that, having pulled it back from 2-0, Ferriby were going to be the only team to win it. And I don't think anybody at all would have begrudged Danny Clarke the winning goal. Remember that fingertip save in the dying seconds. Top corner, goalkeeper should never have got it, but somehow he managed to get his fingers on it and keep it out of the net. But that would have been a fantastic climax.
No, definitely, Phil. But like I say, it was the game swung. The game swung each way. You know, first half of extra time, it was all us. You know, we got the goal. It was all us. The momentum had swung. You could feel it, like you say, Phil, in the stadium. You could just feel the shift. You could feel the shift when Liam scored the penalty. You know, when he scored our first goal. You could actually feel it when he scored that goal. Suddenly they didn't look as composed. Suddenly they didn't. They were looking around each other. Some of the Wrexham players looking for a bit of guidance from each other, a bit of somebody to really get them going again. And it didn't happen for him. It didn't happen for him.
And then again, to come and take penalties like they did after the disappointment of them equalising with just about the last kick of the game. Fantastic resilience and spirit again.
Again, it's down to just at the time and you know, the season they'd had and everything else and the way there was. They were just, I think, as much as they're disappointed, we were happy to have had, from coming from 2-0 down, to actually have the chance to win it. I mean, we'd already won it once, so we got a chance again. And I just think, you know, like you say, it's the big characters. There was never a problem with people wanting to take penalties. And, you know, like I've said, looking back, I mean, we could have won it again, couldn't we? Big Dents could have won it. So we really won it 3 times, if you look at it that way. But, you know, the lads who came up, especially the 2 lads after, I mean, the initial penalties, especially the 2 lads Matty Wilson and Petey. I mean, they just basically, you just felt they weren't going to miss, and they just put the ball down and the confidence just to strike through a football. And obviously, then obviously Adam does his little bit, you know, and it was no, it was just an unbelievable finish. I mean, you look back on it, and literally it's gone right down to the last possibility of us winning it, and it's just there's so many sort of heroes in it, different times of the game because of the length of time it went on.
No, I definitely see. But I mean, there's even a story behind the penalties, you know, because we'd already lost Adam Boulder and Russ Fry, who were normal penalty takers. You know, that they were going to take penalties, so they were out the equation because they'd come off the pitch, so they'd gone. So, like I say, it's a story that I still kill Dents with. I still get after Dents with because we've got the players round us in the circle, and we're asking players. I never wanted to push a player into taking a penalty, so we've got everybody round, and you can look in everybody's faces and look in everybody's eyes, and we're asking people who want to take penalties. So the first 4 penalty takers, they're all got their hands in their air, and then I hear this voice, Denton, Gaffer, give me the fifth. And every fibre in my body wants to say, no, you're not having it, because that's not what he's there for. That's not what he's good at. And I couldn't say to him, no, you're not having the 5th one. We'll give it to Nathan Pete, or we'll give it to Matty Wilson, because if it's further down the line, it does go further. It destroys him. But I always rib him now about saying you could have been the hero of Wembley, Dents, and you know. I mean, his penalty was atrocious. He might as well have stuck a big X in the corner, and we laugh. And he might as well have said, "I'm going to kick it there and get ready," because it was horrendous.
To be fair, very, 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 very similar to the penalty what they missed for us to win it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He'd opened himself up far too early. He'd opened his body up far too early. Thomason, who missed it, he'd opened himself far too early. But even that in the penalty shootout, that was difficult getting to get the players. But like you say, all the players that stepped up, you know, Nathan Pete and, you know, and Matty Wilson, defensive players. We know Nathan had a great strike on him, great left peg. Matty Wilson, again, just big characters at the right time. You know, we said right at the beginning of this about characters and mental strength and desire, and they just literally came up with the goods at the right time. And that's what the team did, you know, all the way through this. That's what the team did. It came up with the goods at the right time.
And just a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, well, like I say, it was literally fairy tale stuff. I mean, I know we touched about Wrexham, about, it was really, really David and Goliath. It was, you know, they were swords on. There was those swords on Rich. It was frightening. You know, they were like, it was just a matter of turning up and, you know, they play the game out, and you know. But like I say, if you've got certain individuals in your team, you've got a team of lads that had certain standards and would never let them drop, and we're all in it together. And you know, you didn't need to tell them how to play. They didn't want you to hold their hand while they were playing. You know, like I said before, like nowadays, they were only 5 years gone, but players want you to literally give them so much information, and they took responsibility. They always took responsibility, and they took things by the scruff of the neck, and that was you know, a special group of players.
It certainly gave us something to live with, as both you and Bobby did. Well, something we're never going to forget. I don't think any of us who were involved with the club that day, that season, are ever going to forget it. Tremendous memories.
Yeah,
I think that's why that's why we do it, isn't it? Let's be honest, for days like that. I mean, we love the game and everything else, and you know, especially when you get to winter time with this sort of game, the training sessions and everything else, you put a lot of the hard yards in, and you know, I wouldn't say we're fortunate, because what you want, it was hard work from everybody associated with the football club at the time, but to experience a day like we did, and that also as well is it made it a little bit more special for myself, and I know Bill's the same, because Bill's daughter and my daughters were they shared it. They were mascots on the day. I know Adam Boulder's lad was. So there's little bits and bobs extra like that, but it was just worth all the hard work and all the sacrifices everybody puts in. You know, when your bank holidays where you're not spending them with the kids. Just, you know, you're out, you're in a mood when you come home because you've been beat, you're tired, you do them long trips like we did midweek, and it's just payback for all that effort and everybody included at the football club. So it is great, and it's something that we can all, it's this like a common bond you have wherever we see people or anybody that was involved in it, we'll always have that Wembley weekend, and that's in them other seasons. It's something that all bond us all together, which not many teams have. And it was a special time in my career as a football man, but to do it as well with a local team is even better. Really, we had a couple of good experiences with Halifax, but they were good. But you know, when it's your own town team, and it's the supporters, you've grown up amongst, it just made it that extra little bit special for me anyway.
No, definitely, Steve. No, definitely, Rich. As I said at the time, you know, I'd played at the club, so to manage him as well, and then to achieve what we did, you know, like you say, it'll be. I think it might be a long time before it happens again, mate. Put it that way.
Yeah, and I think it's worth also, while we're talking, mentioned a couple of other great times as well. The Northern Premier League win on the last game of the season, and then the playoff win against Wilde. Two absolutely incredible experiences.
Well, to be fair, Rich, the my abiding memory of that day was your commentary when we beat Ashton Tugdale. I'll never forget that. So he was videoing it, and you sort of you got a bit carried away in the moment, mate, didn't you?
I nearly fell off the roof.
Yeah, that was a catalyst for it all, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that game. You look at that game, Rich, and I think it had been one of the most. It'd been the toughest season that I'd been involved in. You know, Hensford were neck and neck, weren't we, for literally every single game. It had been, and then, you know, when it comes down to literally one game, there was a lot of nerves that day. There was more nerves that day than there ever was at Wembley. There was far more nerves on that day, believe me, and myself included. And because when you'd gone literally 9 months neck and neck with a team, with literally nobody giving any quarter. I mean, well, I can't remember. I mean, it's awful, but I can't remember how many points we won it on. And you know, we end up on the last game of the season, you know, where we were, one literally 90 minutes of football, and you know, if you win the game, you go up. And it was like I say, I think that was the start of everything. I think that was, we changed the football club hugely from where it was when we took over. We'd had the taste of, you know, of successes, you know, when we first came into the club, but that was the start of it. And like I say, that was huge. That was huge, that game.
And then that's reversing the deficit in the playoff semi-final against Boston. That was another amazing occasion.
To be fair, for me that was better than the final. That was better than the final, because that was when you think about it, it was our own game, but there was 3/4 of it were Boston fans, 2-0 down, and basically within the first 12 minutes, so we got it back. I mean, we worked on a corner kick routine. It worked perfectly, and suddenly they were just shell shocked. And again, you know, man for the moment. Again, it was a Sunday. He always says he's a Sunday league player, Danny Clarke. That's why he plays well on a Sunday. And he comes up, and it was again, people forget it was a great finish to win the game. Clarke, it was a great finish. And for me, that was the better of the two games. That really was the better of the two games for me because of who it was against and the circumstances what we came back from. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Bill thinks the same. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
I think, in all intents and purposes, we should have been out of it because we were really poor. The first leg at Boston, we were really, really poor. We got away with the 2-0. I mean, the boy missed one at the end. I think the boy missed one at the end to make it 3-0, and that would have been it. You know, I cannot remember who missed it, but one of their lads smashed it wide from about 4 yards with not long to go. And then we come, but once again, we believed that we could go through. You know, we believed. And it wasn't just like, you know, okay, lads, we've got a chance. It was never about, all right, lads, if we believed that we were going to go through. You know, it was like, it was sort of like, people might say, Harry, but in our heads, there was no doubt. There was no doubt we were going to go through, even though we were 2-0 down. And that was the sort of like mentality that the players had. And like I say, once we got the early goal, and to do it, like you say, you know, because Boston, another big club, fantastic following, fantastic support, you know, the 3/4 of the ground, and you know, we scored the goal. You could hear, you know, it was a massive, massive performance. But that sort of like summed up exactly what we're about. And then, like you say, that the final against Wilde, you remember, Bob, the final against Wilde. We'd had our games against them before, and you know, they were big, spending huge amounts of money, and had some really, really good players. But you know, the thing is, for me, the key was that we were playing them at home. You know, I'll always remember before with the ball was even kicked, they were looking at the state of the pitch for Wilde. Some of the players kicking up the turf, and it wasn't great, at that time because it had hundreds, you know, it had 99 games played on it. Everybody played on it, and you know, our attitude was, it was never in doubt. It was never in doubt we were going to win.
I think all the pressure was on them. They had to go up. It was the way they'd set up. I mean, to be fair, you know, we were dead and buried after the first leg against Boston. We came back, and our football club wasn't really expecting to go up. They was, and the pressure was all on them. And I think it allows you sometimes to play with a little bit of freedom. And to be fair to the boys again, it was just another fantastic day. And obviously it was our last sort of game as a management duo there. So I mean, to take a village team into the Conference National was, you know, as your last game for a football club. It's a great footprint to have left there.
That's a fantastic achievement by a village football club, and thanks to Billy, Bobby and Phil for reliving it.